In the second part of our visual building series on our Broat fish oil supplement, we're going to be building page 2. Page 2 will consist of a product offering selection, some facts about the product and customer testimonials, and then after the customer selects a product, we're going to have the second page of the checkout. And we're also going to be covering some uh, how to make color changes appear when they select a particular product. So let's go ahead and refresh that we have already built page 1 in the prior video, and now we're going to be working on step 2 of the checkout. I've already gone ahead and stubbed out 3 simple items, 1 bottle, 3 bottle, and 6 bottle, with the appropriate prices. And so we're going to go ahead and get started building this particular page. So I'll go ahead and open this page, and we're going to engage the editor, and we're going to go ahead and start off by stubbing out some of the grid for the checkout. So I'll start with my section, and then in this layout we're going to have 2 columns, one here and one here, about 2/3 of the width and 1/3 of the width, or in column count 8 and then 4. And then we'll start filling in this part over here to begin with. So let's go ahead and create our row, and you could either do this and then adjust it, but we have some handy splits. So we're going to use the right split, which automatically gives us 8 and 4. And then I like to smash the default margin and padding with the 0 tool, so I'll go ahead and do that and smash all of that. We'll come back and add padding as necessary. So the first element in our layout is going to be a progress chevron, and that's just a simple visual indicator to the customer as to how far along in the process they are. And you just enter the text for the steps, 1 per line, and then you enter the text that they are currently on, and that'll show up as active. We're going to go ahead and adjust the colors. We want the default ones to be black, and then we want our active color to be a teal color, so we'll go ahead and set that as well. And this is a nice responsive element. You can set the fonts and everything, and this element will respond on mobile. The text will stack. It's very nice. So underneath this element, we're going to start our product selection. And this is done with what's called a button group. And the button group basically says that when these buttons are clicked, that it's mutually exclusive. So clicking this button will remove the 6 bottle product and add the 3 bottle product, and vice versa. So we're going to start off and we're going to add the button group. Oops, not button. We'll just go ahead and use our handy dandy replace tool, demo that. Okay, place it with our button group. Not a lot of settings to the button group, but we are going to tell it to remember state, so that if they come back to the page, it will reselect which offering they had. The first the first child we're going to put underneath the button group is an item element. The item element lets us specify which item all the context will be looking at. So we're going to start off with the 6 bottle item. And we are going to put a little bit of margin and padding on this, so that as we duplicate it down the page, we can get some nice spacing between. Okay. Looking at our design here, this is going to be accomplished with 3 rows. A 1 column row, a 3 column row, and a 3 column row. Let's go ahead and build out that part of the grid. In a similar fashion, I do want to zero out the margin and padding. I want this to be a very tight set of rows. So I'll do that before I get started adding any content. And then we're going to do a little trickery to make this happen and achieve the layout order that we want when we're in a responsive format. It's actually going to respond down where the picture's first, the image is second, and then the seal is third. So we are going to actually lay these out in this order on the design. So let's go ahead and we're going to adjust the naming here. So this is going to be our product image column, our saving seal column, and then our pricing column. We're going to make this one 6 wide, and then we're going to make this one just 2 wide. And as we talked about just a second ago, we need to place these in the order that they want to appear on mobile, because on mobile they're going to end up being 12 wide. And so to get the columns to flip-flop like this when we're not on mobile, we're going to use the push and the pull technique. So in this case, we're going to push this column over 2, and then we're going to take the savings column and we're going to pull it over 6. You can see that they've now flip-flopped. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started with the top row. We will go ahead and set a background color on the row. Nice dark gray. And then you'll see here there's a new coloring for the button group active background color. So when that button group goes active, the row color is actually going to change automatically. So we'll set that to also be a teal. And then we should be able to set some corners, but only on the top edges, so we can achieve that look there. Okay, let's go ahead and put in a headline. We'll go ahead and double click and that'll engage the editor, and we can say buy 6 bottles, and we can move it over to the left. We'll go into the main settings and we'll go ahead and adjust the color to be white, and then we'll get rid of the default margin. We don't need 10 pixels up top, but we're going to need some padding to bring it off the left. So let's bring in 20 pixels there, and then let's make this a little chunkier row with a little bit of padding. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and start adding content. We'll work on the product image first, because that's pretty simple. So let's go ahead and add a child, and we're just going to do an item image, and I'm going to change it from thumbnail to full just so we get the larger image. It'll respond down automatically. And in our other column, we're going to add just a static image. So in our saving seal column, let's go ahead and add a regular image. And I already have some of these files up here, so I'm just going to select the seal. We'll have to upload some other ones. And you can see that this is sitting right inside its column, and we need to pull it over. So we're going to pull the image object over on tablet and higher using some negative margin. So we'll take it negative 60 pixels, and you can see it's now sitting on the side. And then we're going to want to push it down as well. The easiest way to accomplish this one is I'm going to put some padding on the inside of the column. So I'm going to come into the column and I'll say, okay, on tablet and up, we want the padding. Let's see what 60 pixels looks like. Oops, I got the wrong column. Let's see what 60 pixels looks like. Tablet and up. Yeah, right about there. We've moved that down. Maybe more, but that's final pixel bumping around. Let's go ahead and also let's go ahead and get the background colors to this row. So we'll go into the settings for our row, and we're going to give it a lighter gray. And then it will also change background colors when the button group is selected. So let's give it an alternate color as well. Okay. Inside this third column, we're going to accomplish this with a background image, and then text block, image, and a fancier text block. So let's go ahead and lay out these elements. We'll get into the image, the background image, in just a little bit, but let's go ahead and just stub out. Stub these out. Okay, so in this one, the text is going to be maximum health. This one will be health benefit. Okay. We're going to be dealing with a little bit of color changes. Since this will be sitting on a background image, it'll be hard to see for a little bit, but we're going to set it to white. We're going to center it up, and then adjust some margins. And I've already inspected the other design to come up with these. Pick our font size. And our font weight will be bold. Okay. Let's adjust the text block for health benefit. And this one will have to be a yellowish color. Also center aligned. A little less margin. And the font will be a little smaller, but still bold. For the image, we'll go ahead and upload we have different little fake progress bars, or percentage bars I should say. So we'll go ahead and set that image also aligning to the center. Alright, that's starting to look good. And then the text block. Now this text block is a little more sophisticated because we're trying to achieve a look for the price in that color. We're trying to achieve the look for the price in that color and then shrink that back down. So I've gone ahead and set the color, and I'm going to go ahead and set the font size to 24, which is going to mean everything in it is going to be big. And then I'm going to align it to the center. Now I'm going to actually go into edit mode, and when I'm editing the text, I'm going to paste this in, and I'm doing this with a span tag so that I can use a little bit of Scope CSS to target this particular pricing text. So we're going to actually go into Scope CSS, and we're going to add a few entries to achieve the look we're after. We're going to target the P tag, give it the same line height, and then we're going to target that span tag. We're going to bring its color down, we're going to bring its font size down, and that's going to give us the look that we're after. Okay, now it's going to get a little bit trickier. We need to go ahead and set the background image on our column here. Now we see that it just turned black, and that's because it's set the defaults to full center fit. We're going to just set that to no repeat. Okay, and you can see that the column here is actually wider than the image, and so we're going to need to do a little bit of Scope CSS in order to constrain the column so that it's always the width of that image. Okay, so this is going to be pretty much as complicated of a Scope CSS to achieve this look as you can imagine. So the first thing we're going to do is, no matter what form factor we're on, when the button group goes active, we're going to swap out the background image, and we'll upload that to the file system in a second. When we're on small devices, we're going to adjust the height and the width, and we're going to cause it to center up. And then when we're on medium and up, which is this part of the Scope CSS, then we're going to be using some negative margin to bring it up and position it absolutely so that we place the ribbon in the desired spot. And so you can see we have the content in here. We got close on our margin and padding. We're going to need to look at some further adjustments. Let's see. See if we can tighten that up a little bit. Okay, that's starting to look really good. And then let's bring this element down just a little bit. Maybe another 5 pixels. Okay, let's see how we're doing achieving our look. Pretty good. Let's go ahead and we'll go into our file system, and we have to upload that additional background color and background image that we wanted to show when the button group ends up being selected. So I've gone ahead and uploaded that. Okay, let's go ahead and move down to the bottom row. This is going to be a colored row. We have some text, an icon, text icon, and our button. So that's going to be our layout. We'll go ahead and start by making the background colors on the row. The button group active will change as well. Set those corners to round, bottom edges only. Now, one thing we need to do, and it's kind of subtle, but since we're going to be changing the color of this guy right here, we're going to need to make sure that those columns end up being the same height. So we're going to turn on what's called equalizer, and all that is it says, hey, measure the height of the columns and set all the columns to the highest one. So we'll go ahead and make that change there. And then just so we can start seeing the columns come together, let's go ahead and see here. Here's our middle column. We'll go ahead and set that background color to black. Okay, that looks good. All right. The other thing, everything is going to be center aligned on these columns. So we'll go ahead and change the alignment on the first two columns. The button's going to take up the full width of the other one, but we're going to set the alignment on the first two columns to be centered. So we'll set our column alignment there. Okay. We'll go ahead and stub this out. Headline, icon, second headline, second icon, and then we'll do a button. Okay, let's go ahead and start working on the first headline. This one is going to say free shipping. All right, and let's set it to text transform uppercase, and we will set the font size to 14 pixels. And you can see here that the headline is taking up the full width of the container, and we don't want that behavior, so we're going to set it to be what's called inline block. And you can see now it's only going to take up the necessary amount of width. Okay, let's move on to our icon. We can pick which icon we want. There's a decent selection of icons in the icon font. We're going to choose to use the box. We'll stay at 16 pixels. We're going to also choose to be inline block, so now you can see these two elements like to sit on the same line on the page, but they are smashed right up against each other. So let's go ahead and we'll put some padding around these. And we could do some further pixel bumping later on. Okay, the second column is similar, so let's go ahead and we'll go into the headline, adjust its text, and this will say 90-day guarantee. We'll go ahead and change its color to white so we can see that. Actually, this in the design is actually yellow, so let's change it to a yellow color. Go down to the font, bring its font size down, and then set its display to inline block. The icon, in this case we're going to use the check icon. Change its color to white, and we'll do a similar padding on it. And then finally we need to set it to be display inline block as well. So now we have them on the same page. Okay, here we are with our button. This is where the rubber meets the road. So what we want to do first is select a button group membership so that this button will participate. We're going to change the text to the word select. The action will be add item to cart, and we're going to replace all. We'll come back and we're going to actually set a scroll to condition on this, but we'll do that in a little bit. Actually, we can do it right now. When this is clicked, we want to scroll to the second column, and on the screen right now it looks like it's right beside it, but when we're in mobile or we've scrolled down the page, we want to come back up to that. So we'll go ahead and set that. So when this button's clicked, we're going to get the proper scroll. We'll go ahead and change the style to be flat color. We like a full width button. Bring in a little margin here. Say 10 on the top, 5 on the top. Actually, we're going to do, it's not where I want to do it. I'm going to actually do it on the column itself to bring it in. Let's get down to fonts. Make it bold. And let's give it a nice matching blue color. Okay. Take a look at our design. It's actually a rounded style. We'll go back to that subtle style. And we'll go ahead and constrain it with some padding on the column. Let's see how this looks. Let's go with, let's start out with 5. Maybe a little more on the right and left. Oops. I'm going to thin out the button. It's got some default padding as well. Take that down a little bit. Okay, gonna go ahead and save that out. Okay, so now that we've achieved this particular layout, what we're going to do is we're going to actually come up to the item and we're going to duplicate it twice. So there's the first one and the second one, so we don't have to rebuild that whole structure. Now we just need to edit the appropriate elements and we will achieve the desired look. So I'm going to go ahead and do some title changes here so we can keep track of what we're going for. It's always a good idea to name some elements so you're not staring at the same row, column, etc. And when you name something, it'll actually put the type of element down below in small text. So let's edit each item, and we'll go ahead and change the item ID to the appropriate one. So I changed that one to 3 bottle, change this one to 1 bottle. Okay, and you can see we don't have item images in there, so let's just start working through that. So here's our product image column. We'll edit, and let's go ahead and upload. So there's 3 bottle. Let's go into our seal, and we're going to change that out as well. There we go. So there's 3 bottle. Come down to 1 bottle. This is live, so sometimes things get a little interesting. So I'm just going to save and reload. Okay. With this pricing seal, we're not actually going to be showing one. I'm going to leave this image stubbed out in case it were to be used later. So what I'm going to do is just go to this image and I'm going to use the hide option. And so while it's there in the editor mode, this will not display in the live mode. So we'll edit the text for these headlines. Let's see what most popular and getting started. So we'll edit these as well. Most popular. Getting started. Let's swap out these images here. Okay, and then the next thing we need to do is adjust these blocks of pricing data. So let's take a quick look. We're going to go with $79.95 each down below, and then this other one will be $159. So let's go and adjust those text blocks accordingly. $59.95. Set that price, and then let's edit this. And the reason we're having to do this with a text block is, I mean, this is a sophisticated layout of the pricing information, and since this is a rigid product offering page, it's easier to just make the text static than to get into a bunch of dynamic attributes and stuff. So we'll just go with this route. Okay, so that gets us the left column, and so now we're going to work on the checkout side, the order summary, and then my billing is different, which will display the billing address page, and then the payment information and some seals. So let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to start off in our second column. So we'll call this the checkout column, and we'll call this one the select package column. Now we're going to put two types of information in this column, and so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a checkout condition. This condition is going to be when there are items in the cart. We'll duplicate that. The second condition is going to be when there are no items in the cart. So this is going to be has items in cart, and this will be no items in cart. So all the content for marketing will be in this one, and all the content in the checkout will be here. Now the easiest way to get started is going to be to bring in the entire True Energy checkout that we did in a previous tutorial. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring that in down below, and then I'm going to take the parts of that checkout that I'm interested in. So here I have the True Energy JSON file, CJSON file that I've uploaded, and I'm just going to then select to add the whole single page checkout. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at what we're dealing with. We have the Your Order Summary section, which will have the contents of the cart, the summary, and then we'll bring the coupon section up into there. So let's start with trimming down this checkout to only the parts that we're interested in. So we definitely have a Your Cart section, but it's going to be simpler. It's going to be the product title and the price. We're not going to do images, remove buttons, or any of that. And so we can definitely trim this down. So there's the row, there's the section. Here's our checkout items, and they have a lot of content in here. So I'm going to bring the title up into this column. I'm going to get rid of the item image. I'm going to get rid of the description. Oops, I accidentally got rid of my price. We'll just add that back here in a second. Okay. See what our design looks like. We need your order summary with no icon. So we'll get rid of the icon. And we'll set this to be back to normal. We'll bring the coupon row. We'll just bring it inside there. We're going to have to do a little work with the colors and the box shadow. We've already dealt with the shipping information on page 1. Then we'll have our billing is different. Then our billing section. We're not going to do a separate contact section, but I bet we do need, let's see, we've already dealt with email, so we don't need the contact section. That was dealt with on page 1. We are not offering them a shipping preference in this design. We are going to bring up the order summary details. Which is just this one element. So after the item list, we'll go ahead and we'll just add the checkout summary. Okay. So we can get rid of this entire block. And then we have our complete order button and our modal. So at this point we have a nice checkout carved up. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the checkout out, and then I'm going to go ahead and go into our new column, add a child, and I can just grab it off the clipboard, and that'll drop the entire checkout in. Okay, starting to come together. Let's go ahead and clean up the section from where we brought in the TrueEnergy checkout. We'll go ahead and look at some of the design elements, and we'll make some adjustments here. We'll get that gray. Simple 2D, 2D, 2D gray. And then we'll round some corners. Okay, let's go adjust colors now. I'm going to choose to make this entire column's background color the 2D 2D gray that we're after. That looks right. I have a little too dark a gray. Let me go back and let's take a look at some of these other. This will be our gray. Now let's go clear colors off of rows that we're not interested in. Get rid of that corner radiuses. There's a little bit of a radius or some box shadow in here from that other design. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. May have that on this one as well. Okay, now everything is nice and uniform across that that block. We'll take that box shadow look and we'll come up to the appropriate part in the hierarchy and we'll add that in. So we'll come up to this element. And we'll add that look. Okay. I think some small rounded corners is what's in order next. Just 5 pixels. Okay, so we have our billing form and everything in there. We'll come down to the bottom here and we'll go ahead and add in some trust logos. Just some generic security seals for the warm and fuzzy. I'm going to go ahead and add some padding to each of these columns to separate them. So when we're in a tablet or higher view, I'm going to go ahead and add 10 pixels of padding to each column, one on the left and one on the right. So we have a 20 pixel gap between the two. Okay. And then down below, we're going to be building out the content that they will see when they first land on the page. Okay, so inside the no items in cart, we'll go ahead and stub this out. We're going to start there with security seals. And then move that in one. Okay, yeah, it's a child there now. Okay, so let's do security seals, and then we're going to do a headline. And then underneath there, I'm going to bring in an HTML block that we've already used on the home page. So we'll go ahead and bring that in. So we'll just reiterate that content, that way they're seeing it twice. And then we'll go ahead and below here, we're going to build out some testimonials. So I'll start stubbing out a testimonial row. Let's pick our security seals for our images. This text will say, about our product. We'll adjust its fonts, make it a little bigger when we're on desktop. We could also change the color there, that would look good. Down in the testimonial, I'm going to go ahead and zero that out as usual. And inside the testimonial, we're going to end up using an image. This is where you'd probably take a picture of a person and put it up there. So I've gone ahead and put the image of a just a fake Gravatar image in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put a radius around it to kind of constrain. Let's see, would like to make him a little smaller. Yeah, something like that would look good. And we'll align the image. And then we're going to go ahead and set a border around him just to kind of frame the image. So we'll do a 2-pixel border, and then we'll click the link, and that'll put it all the way around. Solid, and we'll choose a complementary color just to give us a particular look. Just adjusting those column layouts. We're going to go 4 and 8. That should be okay. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll do a text block inside of here, and then we'll paste in. We'll go ahead and paste in a testimonial that someone sent in. Take the font size down a little bit, but we'll up the weight. Okay. What we'll do is we'll take the same gray color that we did, and we'll give it a similar rounded look. So let's go find our gray real quick. And we'll come down to our testimonial. We'll set our background color. Let's give it some rounded corners. Let's put some margin below it so that when we duplicate these, they don't stack right on top of each other. And we can now take this testimonial and just duplicate it a few times. Okay, let's go ahead and save that out. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll open this up in a new incognito window. So let's just okay, so here we have our design opened up in a new incognito window, and we can see that we have achieved the look that the original design had. We have some testimonials, and if we're finishing up the final padding, we should probably put some padding around that so they're not rubbing right up against each other, etc. Let's go ahead and test out our checkout. So the reason we did the scroll to even on the button is so when they click something, we would want to clean up the header and remove that as well. Show you how to do that in a second. But you can see how we scroll back up and we have the content. We have our coupon code. So we'll make some final polishing edits before we publish this. But align that over. We'll remove the header here in a second. We have our optional billing information, and then our credit card form down here with our trust logos, and we can make adjustments. So I'll show you one final change before we wrap up this video. So in this template that we used, we had the full-blown header specified. If we were doing a landing page, we would probably choose not to include the standard site header. So I'm just going to go into the containers view here, and I'm going to knock out this header. This is just going to remove it from being pulled into this template. So it's not like it's going to um, actually delete that template off your disk. So there we go, that's saved and reloaded. We can come back over here, refresh, and so we can see that that header's now gone with the little mini cart. And so now as we change the product, it's going to just adjust and that mini cart won't be flying out. So we're going to publish the whole CJSON and the assets for this on the docs.ultracart.com site, like we did in the first video. And if you have any questions about this tutorial, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.